In this video essay, I'll be discussing the golden age of Japanese cinema in its prime and how it influenced Yasujiro in his filmmaking. I'll be using one of his films, Tokyo Story, as my film examples. I'll also be using articles and other Japanese films of the period as examples to strengthen my statement. The 1950s are considered to be the golden age of Japanese cinema, with breathtaking cinematography, near-perfect acting, captivating stylistic approach to design, and even more profound music scores. It's no wonder it was far beyond Hollywood's expertise at the time. But not many people were, and still are, aware of this. According to film critic and researcher on Japanese cinema, Pablo Knott, the reason for that is the reception of Japanese cinema in the West has always existed within confined space, with the critics and theorists more focused on the mainstream and the commercial success of the films. There are still great artists of Japanese cinema not being recognized. But regardless of this, there were still Japanese directors that stood out in the 1950s. The first director was Akira Kurosawa for his film Rashomon, which was released on August 1950. Rashomon was about a samurai who was murdered and his wife raped, but the movie is told through several different perspectives, and the truth is never made clear. Later on, filmmakers like Kenji, Mizoguchi, Yasujiro, and Masaki Kobayashi were also considered as the grand masters of the golden age of Japanese cinema. Their films are still being praised and analyzed by film critics and theorists up until this day. It was Yasujiro Tokyo Story that was considered to be the seminal film of that time, which is ironic because Ozu's films were once thought to be too Japanese for a Western audience to appreciate. Tokyo Story was directed by Yasujiro in 1953. The film is about an elderly couple who travels to Tokyo to visit their children. But their children are now grown up and are too busy with their own lives to spend time with their parents. It is one of the most influential films of the period. Firstly, because of the simplicity of the story, yet the complex way Ozu portrays it. In the film, there are no major conflict standing in the character's way or an antagonist the hero has to deal with. Ozu mostly focuses on showing how the characters interact with each other and how they deal with everyday situations. Secondly is the cinematography that was used to emphasize the film's narrative. Where other Japanese filmmakers like Akira Kurosawa embraced Western style of filmmaking, Ozu did not. Instead, he decided to break the conventional rules of filmmaking and create his own. In the Western tradition of filmmaking, when the audience see a close-up of two people, the one looking towards the left side of the screen and the other towards the right, the audience interprets it as the two people are looking towards each other. But not with Ozu. For example, in Tokyo Story, instead of looking at each other when interacting, the two characters are looking away from each other. They are showed side by side while talking to each other, looking into the distance. Another characteristic of Ozu's films is the camera placement. Most movies place the camera lens at the eye level of a person who is standing, but Ozu usually places it at the eye level of a person who is squatting on the floor in a traditional Japanese posture. It is from this position, he feels, that is how a typical Japanese man, woman, or child would usually view the world. Such subtle combination of visual devices is what makes Tokyo Story and any other film of Ozu feel different from other films.